Hi, my name is Jeff and welcome back to my workshop. Today we're going to start working on this ballast car. This is lettered for Tews and Company. This car, through an assortment of details, managed to get to the Arlington Heights Society of Model Engineers via the Illinois Railway Museum, and it originally came from the estate of the late John Tews. He was a master model railroader up in the Milwaukee area. He was also executive director of TrainFest for many, many years. So, looks like there's an assortment of different truck wheel sets on here. Everything looks well done and weathered a little bit, more on the inside, but I really think this would look better with a load. And it definitely needs some weight. I can tell by the feel of it. So I'm going to start with the trucks because they're not very free spitting. So we're going to remove the trucks and tune those up. We're also going to give them a painting because you'll see in a second that there's still a very glossy shine. The trucks were never painted. So we'll give them a quick blast of grimy black to take that shine off of them. The couplers are in good working order, so we'll leave those alone for now. We can always do something with them later if we have to. So the first thing I'm going to do is, there's the shine you can see, so I want to repaint these. The wheel sets aren't really spin welling, and I can see there's an assortment of different, you can see even on the thickness of the axles, that we have an assortment of different brands on here. At least one set may be plastic. So we're going to check, I'm going to check the gauge on them, but I'd end up replacing them. So they're all in gauge, but some of them were fitting into the no-go slot there on the wheel tread, which means it's a narrow tread, almost too narrow even for fine scale. So we're going to replace all 4 wheel sets with Intermountain wheel sets. If you're not familiar with how to use an NMRA gauge, leave a note in the comment and maybe I'll do a video just on that, or at least a short. Even if you don't leave a comment, I may just do a short on it. So, having determined that on all of the wheel sets on here, we can move on and paint them. Since I now know I'm going to discard those wheel sets, I'm just going to use those to mask the truck side frames instead of replacing them with plastic wheel sets like I normally would. And I mean replace them with plastic for painting. I use the plastic as a mask. In this case, since I'm going to discard these because of gauge and tread width issues, I'm just going to use these. So first step we're going to do is get them ready for painting and put them on some sticks, and I gave them a coat of my favorite grimy black. If you're not familiar with it, this is a Vallejo spray paint, metal spray, and it is called Panzer Gray. It's a good dark gray, light black color. Here I'm just using Vallejo leather, which is a brown color, to create rust for the springs using a micro brush. I did that with both trucks. Now once the paint has dried, I want to tune these truck journals. And I'm using my truck tuning tool. If you haven't seen me use this before, these are available at hobby shops, also on Micromark. I think Walther's probably carries them too, but I know I've seen them on Micromark's website. I got mine at a train show from a vendor there many years ago. So you just put this in place of the wheel set. One end has a cutting wheel, so you spin that until you don't feel any resistance, you don't feel it cutting anymore, and then flip around and do the next side. You need to do it twice for on each side of the truck. One, so you're cutting both journal axles. Once you're done, you can remove them and insert your wheel sets. These are 33-inch Intermountain wheel sets, and I can give it a test spin, and it spins fine. If you put your hand on those journal boxes, you can actually feel it spinning. You don't want to put pressure on it. Just set your fingers there, and you can actually feel the axle spinning. That's a good sign. You want a good long spin on it. That means your truck is free rolling. I also want to make sure that I have the insulators on the same side of them. Now, with plastic trucks, it really doesn't make much difference unless you're going to put in electrical contacts. But if you have metal trucks, it's extremely important that those insulators be on the same side. And I just like to do this. I do it with all trucks just to be safe and to make sure, just as a habit. That way I don't forget if I am using a metal trucks or trucks with metal side frames. So with those done, we can reinstall the trucks onto the car. This was a well-painted and decaled model, so I'm not going to do a whole lot of weathering or changes to that. John was a master model railroader. He earned that title through the NMRA. So I don't want to really mess with his stuff too much, but I do want to bring it up to the standards our club needs to run on the layout, which includes adding weight, and we're going to need to have a load to hide the weights inside the car. So to insert the screw, I'm just using the same screws that were on here, just putting it in the truck, setting it in place, and screwing it down. I want to get them so that I have one axle that has a little bit of wobble in it, and then the other axle will just turn without a whole lot of wobble. That way we have a 3-point contact system at all times, even if we have a little bit of unsteady track. Okay, so let's take a look at the weight with the car assembled again. We can see we are at 2.1 ounces. The car is 5 3/4 inches in length. That means that to meet NMRA standards, which is 1 inch plus half ounce for 1 ounce plus a half ounce for each inch of length, we need 2.87 ounces plus 1, so 3.87, 3.875, so 3.8, or closer to almost 3.9. This scale only goes to tenths of an ounce, so we're going to look at it for 3.8, 3.9, depending on how close we can get. Now, my favorite type of weights are ones that I can get inexpensively at the hardware store. These are nuts. That's a 1/2-inch nut. Or that first one's a 5/8 inch nut. The second's a 1/2 inch. 5/8 weigh, I pre-weighed it. It was 1.1 ounce. The two 1/2 inch nuts are roughly 1/2 ounce each. So we're actually going to need more weight than just that. And I want to be able to keep the weight evenly balanced. So I'm going to use some small nuts. That brings me to 3.8. If I put a fourth one on, we go to 4. That's going to be heavy. If we go to 4, that took us too heavy. So we're going to use 1 large and 3 small nuts. A couple of ways we can do this. We can put a nut, center a nut, the big nut in the middle of the car, and then put the small nuts into the bottom, the bay escapes where the gravel would come out. At least 2 of them, 1 on each side, 2 on each side of the nut. That leaves me 2 more. I can put those in the center and then put a load over it to hold everything in place. We'd glue all that down, of course. But then the load has to be permanent. I can't remove it. The other option will be to glue the weights to the bottom of the load once I build it. And I may do that. I got to see how far down that load is going to sit and if there's room. But I'm thinking that's the way to go on it. I'm going to make the load out of some foam insulation board. This was rough trimmed to size. It needs to be sanded and smoothed down to get it into shape, and then shaped into a mound. And we'll be doing that in our next video. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already.